Good morning, y'all. I just got a Monday minute for you. Just something totally unscripted. I'm just sharing with you that the Lord kind of shared with me in my private time of reading my Bible and praying and writing in my journal. And I just thought it might be worth sharing. In 2 Samuel in chapter 21, we read that there was a famine in the days of David for 3 years. And year after year, David was seeking the presence of the Lord. And the Lord said, it's for Saul and his bloody house because he put the Gibeonites to death. See, we read back in Joshua, gives us an account of what happened here. And there had been a covenant made between Joshua, the Israelites, and this group of people, the Gibeonites. And if you read the details, it was kind of a shady deal. And it was kind of a trickery, but it was a covenant nonetheless, a binding agreement. And see, Saul, King Saul, before David, his predecessor, King Saul, he violated this covenant. Israel had promised they would never harm these people. But Saul had broken the covenant and put some of the Gibeonites to death. Now, years later, under a new king, David and his people are suffering the consequences of Saul's actions of compromising and breaking a covenant. See, a covenant it's a serious thing in the eyes of God. It may not be in the world's eyes. Marriage is a covenant. And the world may say, yeah, try before you buy, and then if it doesn't work out, whatever. But God takes covenants seriously, and our behavior does have consequences. And, there's, Charles Stanley used to always say, you reap the consequences much, much later than what you've sown. And so this is a biblical principle of sowing and reaping. And folks, just because something maybe happened many, many years back, if you've never gone back and dealt with your stuff before the Lord, the consequences can continue on right into the present and into your family and into your children. And so I think King Saul thought, well, no big deal. And he buried it under the rug. But it is. And compromise is a big deal. It's just something we need to be aware of as Christians. Compromise is not okay. And I think, when we talk about Saul, we think about him in 1 Samuel 15. There again, he was told to wipe out Amalek and everything. Don't save anything. But when you read 1 Samuel 15, go read it for yourself. We see Saul was not fully in obedience. He didn't do all that the Lord told him. And he left Amalek alive and kept for the choice sheep and what have you. He just couldn't bring himself to destroy this perfectly good livestock. He compromised. Listen, sometimes the Lord will tell you something and your human logic will say, oh, that can't be right. But this is good. This is good. What's wrong with it? And the world says, hey, this is fine. But God said, no, cut it out. Completely cut the head off that snake. You don't need to be messing with that at all. Get rid of it completely. But you compromise and you hold a little bit back. It will come back to bite you. It will come back to haunt you, so to speak. It will come back. You will reap what you sow later than you sow and more than you sow. And so compromise is not okay. We think about compromising in relationships to come to a mutual concession. But think long and hard before you decide to accept any standards lower than God's standards in your life. Because if you're a Christian, the world may just go, it's no big deal. You're only human. But there are consequences. So just something I wanted to share on this Monday morning, just for a minute. Compromise and breaking covenants. It's a very serious thing in the eyes of the Lord. So let's keep our eyes on Jesus because he's got our back. And anything he tells us to do, folks, it may seem weird. It may seem like no big deal. But it is a big deal to him. And trust me, he's got our best interest. So we can trust in that. We can trust that anything he tells us, even if we don't understand it, it's going to be okay because he loves us and he knows what is best. Have a great rest of your Monday. A marvelous Monday to you all. God bless.